All right. So welcome back to A Couple Minutes. I'm Ian.
And I'm Celeste.
For those that are tuning in for the first time, the purpose of our show is to provide a couple's perspective biblically of how we walk this out as a living sacrifice to include our struggles.
Struggles, yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so today we'll be discussing
the root causes of arguments.
Yes, because there is a serious spiritual entity behind
yes.
causing these things. Now, there is an aspect of we could be in a state of selfishness.
Right.
We can be in a state of immaturity and sometimes lack of understanding where we don't want to admit we don't understand the person's
prideful
perspective.
and everything else.
But all of those
are still
directly
spirits.
tie to a spiritual entities that are in that process,
Right.
and learning to identify that so we can stave off those attacks.
Right.
And
Well, you think in the middle of an argument, or something, we've had to start identifying in the middle of something, wait a minute, I'm just getting irritated. I don't even know why. Just little things are starting to irritate us. I mean, before we even have arguments, we had to try to identify this, but this little frustration will settle in on us. And then if we do get into it and start arguing.
just being short and
right, and then we'll have that little in your head, don't let him talk to you like that. That's not okay. Or are you going to take that? If we respond to those voices, then we give in to the spirit.
right.
And so we got to be aware of those, that's going on.
And so what you just spoke about is that there's a common misnomer amongst believers or even individuals in the world. They will tell you, if the thought is in my head, it has to be me.
Right, right.
And so we don't pay attention to what Messiah said, and he said, take captive every thought.
Right.
So that means every thought, literally.
Right.
And so if you're being presented with something that isn't speaking life, and it isn't edifying, and it isn't in truth, then that means its author is not looking after the best interest for you.
Right.
Right? So we walk our faith according to yielding to the Spirit, that we are continually conformed in the likeness of Messiah,
right.
that we would be a reflection of him unto a world, that they would see him and glorify our Father.
Right. Dying to self.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so when you're sitting there and being mindful, you start to notice little things like, why am I getting worked up? This shouldn't be getting me worked up this much. Mm-hmm. Why does that offend me, what they said? Because what they said was actually truth. And so you start identifying these things. And then the next part we notice the timing as well. We like to say, yes, look for the fingerprint.
Right.
If you were an investigating officer on a crime scene, the first thing you're looking for when you're looking for evidence, one of the main things you're looking for, where's a fingerprint? Right. Who's the individual I can tie this directly to?
Right.
And so
your MO, you're right.
And so when you start to see things, you start noticing, wait a second, we're literally hours away from Shabbat.
Right, or whatever feast is taking place, or if it's, we've gotten the opportunity to go speak to someone, to profess our faith.
Right.
It's right before then, or right before walking in, to where we'll start getting this attack. And so we've had to really be aware of the timing of things. Mm-hmm. Are we really frustrated? Is it really something that's bothering us? Or is it we're getting worked up?
Right.
And now if it is something that we normally have a problem with anyway, we're like, hey, I'm really annoyed and I'm letting you know, but hey, this is going on too. This is something I've asked you about before. Mm-hmm. Instead of just snapping at them and yelling. Don't get me wrong. We don't always win this battle. We fall victim to it still a lot. And so we're just, our arguments seem shorter now than they used to be. And our recovery time from them, used to, is like, don't talk to me for a week. Don't talk to me for, a day. I need my time. And now it's more within minutes and stuff. Usually afterwards, we're like, oh, I'm sorry, this happened because of this. And, and trying to reconcile.
And so what we've talked about is we cut the legs off of that pretty quick. And in that process of realizing that the situation, how it's playing out, identifying it so we can be mindful of that. Again, if you're walking this out and you're dying to self every day to reflect Messiah in every aspect of what you're doing, it becomes easier as you do that to identify that. If you're going to feed the homeless, because that's part of your ministry, and all of a sudden you have people that show up or they'll call and try to distract you and keep you from going, and then when you finally push through that, you get in your vehicle and then your transmission goes out. And then so as these things happen, you're realizing, wait a second, this is a threat to Hasatan's kingdom.
Right.
And so the work we're doing, we count it now as pure joy, and we just push through. We may limp all the way there.
Right.
And finally get there, an hour after, but still be able to feed the homeless. And in that process, make amazing connections with individuals and bring them to know Messiah. There's a reason for this.
Right. You get the fire when you're over the target. You release the fire when you're over the target. Those are some of the big things. Those footprints, the pinholes. We just have to be aware of what's going on, and it's not just the flesh that we're fighting with. It's a spiritual battle.
Always remember that there is a spiritual component. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. Right. We are not physical beings trying to get to a spiritual level.
Right.
We absolutely were created to have that process with Elohim. Right. And because of the fall, not once, not twice, but 3 rebellions, this is the state we're in. By the grace of Yah, by his love, we have Messiah who has redeemed us and brought us back into a relationship that is proper. It is tov with the Father. And so, anyways, understand that the arguments, there's a root behind it. The attacks, there's a root behind it. Identify the root, cut it quickly, and stop it from growing. So we hope that this has been edifying for you and it's encouraged you as you continue to walk out your faith as a living sacrifice unto the Most High. So on behalf of CIAN Truth Ministries, in a couple minutes, Yah willing, we'll see you again.
Yes.
Shalom.